Right, so hey everyone and welcome back to another budget photography video. So I got a comment the other day asking, well not the other day, the other week, asking for this specific video, editing the pictures from the Mavic 3 Pro. And I love this thing. Now, the only difference between the Mavic 3 and the Mavic 3 Pro is the fact that the Mavic 3 Pro has 3 minutes less battery time and one more camera. That's it. There's no internal ProRes, there's no internal 1 TB SSD, anything. Anyway, the pictures from that drone are amazing, and especially DJI's pictures. They are. They really are. And I don't just mean how they look, but how they work. How easy they are to edit. I mean, that's what I should have said in the beginning, but I didn't. Because I'm all over the place because I'm trying to get ready for holiday at the moment. Even though by the time this video comes out, I will probably either be on or I will be back from. Anyway, let's get into editing. So I'm going to be editing today on a 12-inch iPad Pro. I have my reasons as to why I didn't buy the latest, and I don't need the latest. Anyway, let's get into editing these pictures. Okay. So we have a selection of pictures here in front of us, and you can see the white balance. I kept the white balance at one particular setting because it's just easier to work with that way. So they're all very, very blue. They're all very, very nice. Decent amount of detail. Maybe a little bit more could have been a little bit more helpful if the resolution was a bit more up there. So we've got, what have we got? We've got a DNG file, which is a baby raw, which I fully get because you're not going to be having a lot of internal storage on this thing. So you're not going to really want to have full fat, you know, raw pictures. Although I do wish they would, because we've got big high-end cards. I wish we could have the choice of having raw pictures and DNG. But it is what it is. Anyway, moving on. So I've got an Apple Pencil here. Again, not the latest one. It's actually one that I brought about 2 or 3 years ago, and I need to replace its tip. Will that focus on the tip? Yeah, I need to replace the tip of my pencil soon, not yet. Okay, so let's get into actually just editing these pictures. Now, there's a lot of information in these pictures, which is really nice. If I go back, actually, we can see that they are, how big is the file? Hasselblad, yeah, 12 millimeters, yeah. So it's 19.4 megabytes. Now, that's not a massive amount, but that is a really good amount of information to work with. Okay, so this is obviously... okay, sorry, just a quick thing. I've had to change images. There was something wrong with it, so I've changed to a different picture. Anyway, it's the same composition, but I take multiple shots. And that is my air freshener that I forgot to turn off before this video. Okay, so let's go into this one. And I think what we'll do is obviously we want an even exposure. So I think what we'll do is we'll go into exposure first of all. And I think we will drop the highlights because we've got a lot of highlights here that if we just, you know, brought up the exposure a little bit, we kind of lose the detail in the sky. So what we'll do is we'll drop them highlights and we'll drop the whites. And then we'll lift the back, and there is a truck outside, I do apologise, and we'll lift the shadows. So there we go. Just there. We're adding some contrast that we've lost in the shadows and the blacks. Let's drop the blacks just a little bit. Okay, let's go into colour. Now, obviously you can see the white balance here is very blue, and this is going to be a recurring theme along these images, that a lot of it is a very cool white balance. And that's okay, because what we can do actually is just rescue that, and we've got a nice warm summer's morning at 5 o'clock. Okay, so let's just have a look at the detail. Now that we've really brought back the colours and the exposure, let's really just have a look at what we've got. There's my Apple Pencil. So you can see that we've got a lot of noise here around these trees. But I don't think that's noise per se, that's just loss of detail because of how far away we are. You know, there's not enough megapixels within the sensor. But that's fine. That's really fine. Let's just have a little play around with these colours. Maybe just there. I don't usually touch the saturation, so we won't. I'm going to bring the texture up, the clarity a little bit. Now we've got a little bit of fog rolling in just over here, right at the back, like where that wind turbine is. So I'm going to dehaze ever so slightly. There we go. And then let's go into detail. Let's bring in some more sharpening. Now we've got a lot of noise in here anyway, so we'll go into noise reduction. We'll bring in the noise reduction, color noise reduction, which does smoothing it out, so we'll bring in some more sharpness, which then we are left with that. Now, could this picture be any better? Yes, it really could. So I think what we'll do is we'll get the pencil and we will go into this, masks, and then we'll just brush along here. Now that is too much. Whoops, that's the wrong button. That's too big. So what I'm going to do is find where I get the sizings. There we go. That's what I want. And just brush along this cloud here. Primarily in this location where the blue brush is. And then what we do is we're going to lights and we'll just bring down the highlights. And maybe the exposure. There we go. Look at if I bring that right down, you can see a lot more detail. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to go cancel, discard changes, and then I'm going to do it again, but I'm going to go for selecting the sky rather than just that one area. And then I'm going to go into light, and then we're going to drop more highlights. We're going to drop the exposure ever so slightly, Maybe lift some shadows, drop some whites, lift some blacks, add in some contrast. And then let's have a look at this temperature. We can bring in more or less. There we go. Look at that. No, I think I've gone a bit too much with the sky. Primarily with this here. There we go. That's better. That looks a little bit better. I've still mucked that one up, unfortunately. A little bit too much processing, but that's fine. That looks a lot better than, well, that, really. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. So that's kind of the same one, really, except I've really underexposed that. So let's have a look, actually. Not to edit, but we'll just kind of, you know, sorry, really itchy nose. There we go. Not to just edit, but to see what kind of detail is remaining in these shadows. So let's bring up the exposure. Let's whack up them shadows. So yes, look at the noise generated. I wonder if we can sharpen it, noise reduction, color noise reduction. Let's really crank it. Oh God, look at, yeah, that can't be saved. Yeah, that's, that is just a hot pile of steaming garbage. So let's move on. We've got another low ISO. What am I thinking? Let's have a look at the rest of them. What else have we got here? Okay, so this one here is quite nice. I quite like this one, but it is a bit wonky. So we're going to just go and straighten it up first. Okay, apparently that is straight. There we go. Right, and then let's see what auto does. Oh, Now I quite like that, but not enough. So we're going to bring in some of that yellow as well. Maybe lifting more of the shadows and the blacks. No, I wonder what would happen. Now I quite like the sky in the background, but I don't like the foreground of the trees. But other than that, I really do think this could work in black and white. Maybe some dehaze in the effects. Maybe some texture, some clarity. That kind of works, I suppose. Kind of, really? I don't know. What do you guys think? I'm really not sure. What else have we got? We've got this one here, which is actually what I've got here on my lock screen. Oh, fuck, I can't put that in. Which is actually what I've got just here on my lock screen, because I have actually already edited some of these pictures before I realised that I could show you guys how I edit my drone pictures. So, sorry. Okay, so so with this one, we can see we've lost a lot of details to the highlights. So we can really pull them down, or have we crushed them? Nope, we can save them. So actually what I'm going to do then, is I'm going to put the highlights back, I'm going to go back into that, and I'm going to select the sky. There we go, look at that. And now I can just edit the sky. So let's drop the shadows, drop the highlights, drop the whites, maybe lift some blacks to about there, and then dehaze it a little. Oh, there. Ah, now look at that. The only thing is that it's not doing over here for some reason. I think it thinks that that is not part of the sky. So we can't, unfortunately, do too much dehazing. Yeah, look, if you look. Can I add brush? So I'll just add to it here. There we go. So we just dehaze that. And there's my air freshener again, I'm sorry. There we go. Push done. And look at that. Now what we can do is we can go back into the light. On the actual image, we can bring up the shadows and then drop the contrast down. And then lift blacks, drop white. And then texture, clarity, dehaze. Oh, too much. Just ever so much. There we go. And then my iPad is, I think my iPad's overheating. The screen's just got a little bit dimmer. Unfortunately, these things aren't really designed for this kind of extreme, well, I say extreme workloads, but all I'm doing is screen recording and editing pictures. Unfortunately, this seems to be all I have at the moment. I mean, I could do this one quickly. I mean, there's not a lot of information in this one. We will do this one. We'll do it quickly. I'll put the pen back. And what we'll do, we'll just go correct the white balance. That needs exposure, contrast, highlights, shadows, whites, blacks. There we go. To make it look a little bit more natural. And then a bit of dehaze, texture, clarity, yada, 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 sharpening. And that is what we're left with. That's a really quick edit, that is. I don't think I've ever done a picture that quick. So, with my iPad now overheating, I will have to catch you guys in the next one. I guess I'll have to do a part 2 maybe one day. Anyway, guys, thanks for joining me in this video. I'll see you in the next one.